I would always recommend for any PI thinking about using drones to make sure they fully understand the laws of the state that they are in, as well the FAA rules and the FAA regulations. The FAA regulates where you can fly a drone in regard to FAA controlled airspace and drone registration and who needs a license to fly a drone. It does get a bit complicated. I will try to do my best to explain it as I understand it. To begin with, any drone weighing between 0.55 pounds and 55 pounds needs to be registered with the FAA. Registration, I think, runs about $5 per drone. Licensing is required for any drone pilot if you are using a drone for any commercial purposes. So if you as a PI are using a drone yourself for part of your investigations, you must have an FAA license. But that license and that registration does not give you carte blanche authority to do with it as you will. In fact, the licensing places a higher burden of responsibility to the license holder. Then there is the reasonable expectations of privacy. Every state has laws regulating what a person can expect as a reasonable expectation of privacy. For instance, in most states, if not all, you can't stick a camera up over a 6-foot privacy fence and shoot video of people out in their backyard. In essence, they have that privacy fence up and they have a reasonable expectation of privacy while they're behind that fence. Now, I am not an attorney. I cannot give you legal advice, but in my personal opinion, if you can't stick a camera up over a fence and grab video of what is happening in the backyard, then it also stands to reason that you cannot climb a tree next door to see over the fence and get video without violating reasonable expectations of privacy. So then it also stands to reason you cannot fly a drone up and get that video of their backyard either without violating somebody's reasonable expectation of privacy.
This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today.
Everyone essentially has a reasonable expectation of privacy in certain areas where they would reasonably be able to assume that they are private. So places like restrooms, even public ones, a person would have a reasonable expectation of privacy. You would not normally assume that people are going to be videotaping you or taking photos of you in the bathroom. As well, places like gyms and workout centers, most of those have a no cameras or video policy. So any of the users of those facilities would have a reasonable expectation of privacy while they are using that facility. Now, if they are working out in front of a row of windows that faces the street or the parking lot or whatever, that expectation may be gone, as what they are doing now is in public view. Generally speaking, you can videotape anything that is in public view. So given all of that, and I know it was a bit of a long-winded answer, but given all of that, I would say as a general rule, a person has a reasonable expectation of privacy in their home, and someone flying a drone past a window to gather intel, evidence, video footage, or whatever is violating that reasonable expectation of privacy. Now, here in Colorado, and I imagine a lot of other states have similar laws, you cannot shoot video through a residential window. So if I am working a workers' comp case and my subject has injuries that preclude him from lifting over 5 pounds, and I see him lifting weights in his living room every day through the window, I cannot obtain video or photographic evidence of that activity. I can watch, I can observe what he is doing. I can verbally document what he was doing in my reports. I can watch and I can look for other eyewitnesses who saw the same thing and that can corroborate what I saw. But I cannot obtain video or photos through that window. By law, can someone bug a hotel room without entering the hotel room? I'll try to answer this in 2 parts. First, I don't think by law you can bug anything. I could be totally wrong, but placing a bug is an invasion of privacy and is precluded by law. But then, I'm not an attorney, nor do I play one on YouTube, so you might want to check with your own legal counsel for clarification. Now, if you put up a camera in your own home, then that is fine. Those aren't bugs. As I see it, bugs would be interpreted as eavesdropping devices. You can stick a nanny cam in your living room to see what is going on when you're out and the babysitter is watching the kids, but you can't put that nanny cam in the bathroom where everybody would have that reasonable expectation of privacy that we just discussed earlier. Now, can somebody bug a hotel room without entering the hotel room? The simple answer is, well, maybe. It really all depends on what technology the individual doing the bugging has at their disposal. Technically speaking, just about anything is possible, but practically speaking, there are limitations. Your typical bugs that most people would deploy are fairly standard types of devices that would require access to the space where they're going to be deployed. These come in many varieties of devices and can be made to look like just about anything. They're also built to gather video and audio. They can transmit all the time, some of the times on a schedule, or not transmit at all. The types of bugs used that would not require access to the room are sophisticated in many cases. A less sophisticated way, though, might just have the one doing the bugging be in an adjacent room and listening through a wall. The old glass on the wall and up to your ear trick does work, folks, and there are electronic devices out there to help you do the same thing, but even better. There is also laser technology that can gather audio from a room when pointed at a window, but this is extremely sophisticated, expensive, and technologically challenging to say the least. Laser eavesdropping devices would be more in the state versus state or very high-level corporate espionage type of scenarios, not something that somebody's just going to pick up for a few bucks online. With laser technology, the laser would have to hit the window at the perfect angle. Then the window would have to reflect the signal back at the perfect angle. Different types of glass, weather conditions, and other factors would also come into play. Then there is consideration of window coverings that can block and alter sound. Distance subjects are in the room from the window, what angle they're projecting their sound, and a ton of other things that could make it nearly impossible. With laser technology, like this, the person that is deploying the technology would have to have considerable setup, test, and fine-tune time before they ever use it. There is also the possibility of a phone line being tapped. You don't have to have access to the phone in the room to tap that line, but it takes some fairly sophisticated knowledge and access to other areas in the building, like the phone room or someplace like that, to put a phone tap in. With a phone tap, they would also only be able to hear what is going on when somebody was talking on the phone. Once they hang up the conversation, they cannot be heard any longer. There are phone bugs, such as an off-hook or on-hook bypass, that would make it possible to use the phone to transmit audio while on a call or off, but you have to have access to the phone. So technically, if you got the phone from another room, and you tapped it and you got somebody else to swap phones, then it can be done without the person doing the bugging actually having access into the room itself. So the short answer, sure, there could be a way to bug a hotel room without gaining access to that room. Other short answer, it would be very unlikely that this would happen due to the complexities involved. Have you ever been hired to find somebody's long lost love? The answer is yes, but I get many more calls for these types of investigations than actually ever turning them into real cases. This is an area that every PI needs to be very aware of, especially for new PIs. It's very tempting to take every possible case that comes along, but you need to make sure that you can vet your clients properly. Whenever we get any type of a locate investigation inquiry, we first determine if there is a legal purpose for the locate investigation. A legal purpose would be something like needing to serve papers or some other legal matter. But even if there is a legal purpose, it doesn't mean that we just do the locate. I always recommend to vet the client thoroughly. Conduct a background on the client. Are they who they say they are? Do they have a criminal past? Do they have any restraining orders? A common ruse by bad guys is getting phony or sometimes even real court documents and providing that to a PI saying that they have a process server, but he needs a good address to serve these papers. When in actuality, he just wants his ex-wife's or his ex-girlfriend's or somebody else's address for nefarious purposes. When I get these inquiries for these types of personal locates, need to find an old high school friend, need to find my buddy from the army, I need to find an estranged family member, whatever the case is, we do the following, and I suggest that you do something similar. Tell the client, absolutely, we can do that for you. The locate investigation costs X dollars. What we will do is conduct the locate investigation, and after we have located the individual, we will contact them on your behalf. Upon contact, we will provide them with your contact information, and then they can contact you back at their leisure. Most of the time, I will never hear back from that individual again. That tells me that they may not have had good intentions once they got the address for the person that they're trying to find. I will also notify other PIs through my state PI Association's listserv of a potential fraud locate client if I really get a bad feeling about the situation.